home, and then a little bit over 80% of everything you see inside was owned by the president, and more importantly used here specifically in this house. So here, let's come get out of the rain.
Today and not tomorrow, there's no time to borrow. Today, well, something's gotta give. Today is a good day. Today and not tomorrow, there's no time to borrow.
Hello everybody, here we are on another presidential tour.
Yes, so exciting.
We're here in Indianapolis.
Yes.
And we're at the Benjamin Harrison presidential site.
He was our 23rd president and the only Indiana president, so that's kind of cool.
So there you go, so we're going to go check this place out.
Yeah, come along with us. Blueprints of the White House. It's pretty cool. Caroline, the First Lady, had a big part in some of the expansions that were done to the White House while she lived there. So you can kind of see some of the ideas, the blueprints. Here's really a good blueprint of the entire area, how it encompasses that whole courtyard. They had celebrations there. There's the egg rolling at the White House. Inside the White House a little bit, that's pretty cool. Some of the color palettes that she chose. And the really old desk. And the second floor. is the gift shop. And they have a little video for you to listen to and learn more.
You see here in this home, and then a little bit over 80% of everything you see inside was owned by the president, and more importantly used here specifically in this house. So here, let's come get out of the rain. You do get to go into the rooms here as well. This is the home he lives in longest of any home in his life. That is both pre and post presidency. He even dies in the home in 1901. You stand as close as I am to you to his deathbed amongst all the other items I've mentioned so far. He sure did, 1901. So home built in 1874. They finished construction in 75. Remember, he's president from 89 to 93, and then again, lives in the home until 1901. So as you tour this home, keep in mind this is considered the wealthiest neighborhood in the state at the time.
So the home that we are standing in is his fourth residence. So this was not his first, second, or third when he moved to Indianapolis. This was his fourth and final residence, and he also did pass away in this home, which we'll talk more about as we go upstairs. The home is a 10,000 square foot Italianate style mansion, so there is 16 bedrooms and 14 fireplaces. And so this home was one of the first in the neighborhood. The Old North Side was the wealthiest neighborhood at the time. The Harrisons are not originally from Indiana. He was actually born in 1833 in North Bend, Ohio. So I think it's maybe about 30 minutes or so west of Cincinnati, so it's near the Ohio River, so you have access to all the different states and all the glorious things of the river. By the time he went to college, that is actually where he met his future wife, Caroline Harrison. So her father was actually one of his professors at the Farmers College, and he was kind of bouncing around. He was an ordained Presbyterian minister as well as a professor, so he was very, very educated and very well known in the Ohio area. So after they both graduated, they got married, and eventually they were kind of trying to figure out what was next. So he decided to study law, and so he had to stay in Ohio. He stayed in Cincinnati to do his apprenticeships for a couple years while he studied law, and then eventually they decided to move to Indianapolis, which was at the time a very budding place to be. People from all over the place were coming to Indianapolis. They were young, they were broke, and they decided to just kind of start somewhere. So they decided to come to Indianapolis to start a neighborhood. Now, by no means did Harrison come with any money when he came to Indianapolis. He did have a little bit of kind of a gift of one of his uncles that helped him kind of get settled here to start. But they rented out a small cottage apartment for $6 a week, I believe. So it was very cheap and it was kind of run down. So by no means did they start out with a nice place to live in by any means. So we'll kind of fast forward to where we are now. So the home you see is a Victorian style. So it was built in 1874, and the Harrisons moved here in 1875. And they bought the land and everything for $27,000. And so there was two other homes on the edge of the property where the highway is. There was two homes there, as well as where the flower garden is right next to the home. There was also another house there as well. So they were kind of packed together in this neighborhood, if you will. He could be president. So he wasn't the president at the time, but that is where he accepted the nomination. He found out right here at home, right where she's standing, that he accepted the nomination for presidency. Wow. Yeah. Kind of crazy, huh? Yeah. So this room that we're in currently is we call it the South Parlor. So it's technically more of your informal living room space. So this is where the Harrisons would have spent more of their family time discussing the day, playing piano, talking about what happened throughout their days, listening to music, letting the grandchildren play. So this room would have been more of our kind of informal living room space. Up until Reagan, so he was 68 when he became president. So he was one of the oldest presidents up until Reagan. His wife, Miss Ann Sims, right behind you, she actually was the first lady that never got to go to the White House. So she was ill when he went to the White House, and then he got worse and she got better, and then he passed away and she never got to go to the White House. But she is a prominent, influential figure to our Benjamin Harrison. By the time she was in her 70s, 8 out of her 10 children had already passed away. So she was kind of in a continuous mourning state, but she was a huge influence for Benjamin Harrison in terms of just kind of his morals, his ethics, as well as education. So she was a big proponent of teaching all the kids education as well. Very loved throughout the family. So, this is the oldest one that I've ever seen. I have a 1920s and 30s one in my home for my grandparents, but this one's actually the oldest one I've ever seen. So it actually does still work. Would you guys like to hear it?
Yeah.
All right, so I will play it for you. And the reason why this was the hot technology of the time is because back in the day, you would have to continuously wind it to be able to listen to it, and it didn't have a stopping point. But with this bad boy, all you had to do is wind it a couple times, and you have the ability to kind of stop it so it doesn't keep going. So that was kind of the advancement of the time. Back in the day, you could buy this for $12.50, but for a normal family back then, that was a lot of money. So these were only kind of reserved for more wealthier families. We have over, I think, 100 of their personal discs here at the house, but only about 5 or 6 of them work anymore. So we switch them out for different seasons just to kind of add to the feng shui of the home feeling. So I will play it for you. And you're welcome to get closer if you like as well. So welcome to the library. Some people call it an office, other people call it a man cave. Just kind of depends on how you use your space. But we call it the library. So this was the space that Harrison would have spent a lot of his time reading, writing letters and such. We also have Caroline's desk in here, which tells me that they really enjoyed each other's company, because back in those days, men did not work near their wives or around them with personal business things. But Caroline and Harrison really enjoyed each other's company. So that is something that you see that is a little bit different. You can already tell his personalities, that he really enjoyed being around his wife a lot. So this guy right here, he kind of looks a little bit like George Washington, as the kids say, but it is not. It is Benjamin Harrison V. So he's actually one of the starts of the family's big turn in politics. So he's one of the original signers of the Declaration of Independence. His home, he grew up on the Berkeley Plantation in Virginia, which had a lot of official delegates that visited there. So he's kind of the main start of the family's turn in politics. So then you have his son, William Henry Harrison, the 9th president. So you already have a big turn in politics right here. And again, War of 1812, the 9th president. And then we have his son, John Scott Harrison, which is on the back of wall over here. So John Scott Harrison was the last surviving child of William Henry Harrison, which in turn is kind of ironic, because we wouldn't have our Benjamin Harrison without the fact that he was the last living child of William Henry Harrison. This is his promotion piece of when he was promoted to Brigadier General, and that's not me saying it's the most important piece, but Harrison saying that. And what's really cool about this promotion piece is right here in the corner is Abraham Lincoln's signature. So this was signed 24 days before before Lincoln was assassinated. So there are other generals with this promotion piece, but there are none that are signed with Abraham Lincoln's signature. So this is a very special piece, and this was the biggest accomplishment in Harrison's career. And even after his presidency, you would still refer to him as General Harrison. So he never liked to be called just President Harrison. He would be called General President Harrison. So he took it very seriously and was as a big accomplishment. So
This picture of Lincoln was above his casket when he came into Indiana during the train trip.
So this is one of those pieces
This is
where
him,
preservation terms were used
Benjamin Harrison.
cover because sunlight.
This cane was made on the 100th anniversary of Washington's presidency, and it has all the presidents up until Harrison around it. So it's really cool. Because canes were really big during that time.
Items, and that is not because we don't want to show you what their kitchen looked like. It is because at one point the home was used as a dormitory for girls for the music school, which I'll talk more about later. And this room was actually used as their admin office. So at one point they ripped out all of the technology pieces that the Harrison had, all their cooking stuff, and they kind of made it more of an office space. But we have been able to kind of have items that are from the time periods that we are able to recreate what their kitchen would have looked like. So these are all original pieces from the time period. I think it's one of the grandkids kind of stroller pieces, kind of a play piece as well.
Okay.
Yeah. So welcome to the dining room. So you guys are actually pretty fortunate. We just recently re-wallpapered this room. Beforehand, it looked very 1970s with a green, sagey color and some 1970s decor pieces. So this is actually a newly renovated wallpaper space. So this room, we didn't actually have photo references, but we had written down from the second wife of what this room looked like. So we knew it was blue, and we knew it had a lot of floral as well as animal piece in the wallpaper. So we were able to make an educated guess on how to re-wallpaper the space. I think it's kind of fortunate that he did die in his own home, in his own bed, so I think that's very special. We do not ever have ghost issues in the home because I personally think that we're trying to do our best to take the legacy that he would have wanted, so he does not haunt us by any means. I will say though that not many people tend to talk about second or third marriages with a lot of tours and stuff, but this is where I like to kind of bring the second wife into play, because hands down, I would not have a job and you would all not have a tour if it was not for the second wife. So Mary Lord Dimmick was, like I said, very much more like Harrison. So she wasn't super popular with the public. And so she knew that this home, after her time was done, because Harrison died and she didn't have any other relations here in Indianapolis, so she ended up moving to New York City after about 10 or 12 years. So Elizabeth grew up here essentially in her youth, but she ended up moving to New York. And so the house was empty for about 15 to 20 years, and there was a caretaker here. And then when Mary came back in the 1930s is when they sold the house to the Arthur Jordan Foundation, which is what it's called now, but back then it was called the Conservatory of Music. So it was a gentleman who had a branch of the Butler School of Music. Now it's just kind of a music school, but this home was used as a dormitory for the girls at one point. So all the furniture pieces of the Harrisons went upstairs in the attic, and the home was used for a dormitory for girls. So that.
It's kind of hard to read, but this is the Harrison Family Presidential Research Library. As you can see, they have a lot of the books. They have a lot of his old letters, things like that they're restoring and keeping. We're in the ballroom, which is on the 3rd floor. It's amazing. There's a lot of history up here, so it's kind of cool. The floors are gorgeous. We're just enjoying this tour. We just toured the Benjamin Harris home.
It was nice. It was not a self-guided, but it was a guided tour.
It was.
On all 3 floors of the house here.
Yeah, we had a great tour guide, so you'll get to hear a lot of how she explains the house and the history of it. So we really enjoyed it.
It was a lot of fun.
Learned a lot
of interesting stuff.
Wow, I didn't know so much about this president, so now I'm wanting to read a little bit more and learn some more. All right, so you go out and find your adventure.